started wrestling, the sport of wrestling at age 4.
Yeah, I've been wrestling since I was a little kid, since I was about 8 years old.
I've always been interested in wrestling. I started wrestling when I was 5 years old.
If you want to keep your odds high of being a champion fighter, start wrestling at 5 to 10 years old. Don't stop wrestling. I think everybody realizes that's the best path to the top of the MMA mountain. The birth of mixed martial arts fighting was right here in Tempe, Arizona. The birth of it. The wrestlers were the masters. When I got to high school and I started to, work hard at achieving high goals, then college became a reality. And when I started to narrow down the list and ultimately make a decision, it was pretty simple. I was coming to Arizona State University to wrestle, and it was a special time then because not only was Arizona State producing national champions, but world and Olympic champions. And my goal wasn't just to be the best in the country, but it was to be the best in the world. And I knew there were only a few places in the country could do that. Arizona State was that place.
So in high school, I was a recruited athlete. I was one of the top guys in the country. I was #2 in the country at a national tournament. So I was highly recruited, but Arizona State was a place that I wanted to go. It was something that I'd wanted to do from a young age. I didn't want to go to another school. I turned down athletic scholarships at other universities because I wanted to be a Sun Devil. I wanted to live in Tempe and train here and really put this, be a part of such a great tradition.
After I had a successful junior college career at a small junior college called Colby Community College in Kansas, won a national title there, took third the next year and got recruited down to Arizona State. Knew that I wanted to end up in a warm place when I was done with school. Never really had mixed martial arts on my mind. I was just coming strictly, for wrestling. That was my passion.
And I was torn between playing football and wrestling, because wrestling's a grind, and it gets hard after a while. But it was my #1 sport. I loved it. And I went to one last tournament, senior nationals, all the first place winners from every state coming together, and ended up getting third. I got a scholarship to come to Arizona State University. Came down here. I loved the town, the city, the college.
You can't ever do enough preparation in the sport of wrestling. It's grueling. I mean, it's a very difficult sport. I call it, it's not recreational. You know, wrestling is a very physical sport. It's very physically demanding, very mentally demanding. It's a 24-hour-a-day sport. You know, it's not only just go to practice, then you're done. Often you're losing weight, so when you go home, all of a sudden you're only having a couple carrots and an egg for dinner after you've just burned 9,000 calories.
I remember my first days, how much of a difference it was from a junior college wrestling room to a Division I wrestling room. The workouts we were doing, I remember doing stadiums. I actually had Aaron Simpson on my back my first year here. And we're doing these stadiums, and the coach is like, put someone on your back. Now we're gonna run up the stadium. I'm like, God, I'm dead. I'm going up and my legs are like involuntarily shaking, running up and down stadiums. It's 110 degrees out. Really made me question, is this what you wanna do? And then on the first day of practice, there was 100 people. On the next day, there's 50 and 40 and 30, and you just see people start dropping like flies.
I think the things that are important, one is you have to have a tremendous work ethic and discipline. You have to be extremely mentally tough. I think you need to be a student of the sport. Wrestling is extremely dynamic. There's a lot of ways you can win in the sport. In wrestling, you can win with speed, strength, conditioning, mental toughness, technique, tactics, weight control, strength, a lot of ways to win. So you need to know what your unique gifts are, and you have to practice those. Wrestling is the foundation for MMA. We all know that now. We didn't know that in the beginning, but we're very clear and we know that now, that you have to have a wrestling background to increase your odds to the very highest of being the best in the world in fighting. Wrestling is the base. 80% of all fighting is wrestling, but it's also, too, what wrestling teaches you. You know, there's, to wrestle 10 years and be successful at it, you've probably wrestled 10,000 minutes at a very physical pace. Again, it's not recreational. I mean, the grind of a wrestling workout, 2.5 hours long, it's tough. I mean, those guys are exhausted. Not anyone can go through that. And to get through a 2.5-hour monster grueling workout takes 12 weeks of strength and conditioning, running, lifting, swimming. I mean, really grueling training just to be able to go through a wrestling workout. So you just can't walk in and say, all right, I'm gonna go through a 2.5-hour workout and sustain that workout consistently. You're gonna have to put a 12-week base down of strength conditioning before you can even go through a wrestling workout. And then even just to go through one wrestling workout, that's one. You might be injured and hurt and you can't even go through tomorrow's workout. So we have to have this real good, strong strength conditioning base, and then you have to have a foundation of basic wrestling skills. You gotta know what a takedown is, what an escape and a reversal is. And again, you can't even start to learn the moves until you have the strength conditioning base built. There's so many building blocks that it takes to get to that, to get to the place where you can even train to be good. There's like 100 blocks that gotta go down before you get to the 101 block, which is the basic being good at wrestling skill. I just think the regiment and the dynamics of the sport too, there's just so many wrestling moves. There's thousands of wrestling moves and you just can't learn that in a year. It takes 10 years to learn all the wrestling moves. And then again, after you learn 10,000 wrestling moves, you're only gonna be good at about 8 of them. Now I say world class at about 8 of them, where your 8 moves can beat anybody in the world. It takes you 10 years to get there. I mean, can you do that 95 times in a row? I know you can. You like to just do things over and over.
The best moments looking back is just the camaraderie and being around all the guys. I mean, wrestling's tough. You know, we're the track team, the swim team, everything combined. We have to work hard. We have to be in the best physical condition, mental condition. You know, so for me, it was just being in there with the guys day in and day out, waking up at 5:30 to go run Squaw Peak on a Saturday, grinding in the wrestling room, battling each other and not giving an inch and getting better and better. The success that came from that, Pac-10 championships, being an All-American, you know, those were highlights of my career. But if I look back and remember anything, is that camaraderie we all had, and you can see it carry over into our lives now. 10 plus years later, we're still around the same people in business with each other.
With the likes of Ryan Beider, Cain Velasquez, some of the other wrestlers on the team, some of the hardest working people I've ever met personally in my life. Seeing that kind of work ethic and being surrounded by that kind of competitor and competitors made me raise my game. It gave me that will, you know, keep working harder, keep putting the time in, you're getting better, and you know, who knows where this is going to take you.
When I was coaching at Arizona State University, I coached Cain, CB, and Beider. It was a sport that they were trying to learn. I was older, and I was the guy that knew more. And so therefore, I was really able to the coaches that I was under, share with what I had learned, and I really, you know, legitimately coached them.
Yeah, now drive in again.
So we came from a wrestling team where we had a lot of UFC guys come from. Myself, Cain Velasquez, a heavyweight champ, Bi Dollowaay, and Aaron Simpson. Cain was the first kind of guy to want to fight in mixed martial arts, and he knew that right away when he was wrestling. CB and I, you know, were interested in it, but we didn't know what we wanted to do afterwards.
When athletes compete and then they go into maybe into a normal 9-to-5 job, they lose that sense of competition. There's no place to compete. You just do your job.
I was kind of done, you know, being an athlete, because that wrestling grind is so hard, you know, and afterwards I got a real job in sales for about 9 months.
Once I graduated, went out and got a job working as a recruiter for a IT company, watching the UFC, kind of started to get that itch to compete again, and had started doing kickboxing at a local gym, just something I wanted to do to stay in shape, but you know, just the competitive nature in me, you know, after getting a little better at it, wanted to test myself.
And I miss that fire, I miss that competition, and so I just went into a gym and we started training a little bit, helping some of our guys out, buddies out. And I knew if I was going to start training, I was going to start fighting, you know, and I knew I just had that in me. I didn't want to look back at my life and say, hey man, I wish I would have done that. I wish I could have done that. So for me, it was just no regrets. Let's jump into it. I'm going to give it my all, and let's go from there.
Did like a local tough man, won that, and then took my first MMA fight and won that in 17 seconds with a knockout slam. After that, it was history, you know, it's something I just knew this is what I want to do.
We got into MMA together. We were all learning together at the same time, learning from different coaches. And there were things that I knew and that I know that maybe they don't necessarily know what it means when it comes to the wrestling aspect of it. But as far as striking and grappling and stuff, we're equal, or if not, they may know more than I do in some regard.
Making that transition from wrestling to MMA, definitely had to work on my striking the most. Throwing a hook, for example, it took a long time. I'm still a work in progress. It just was foreign to me. I never threw a correct punch in my life. I've never been to a boxing class. Picking up jiu-jitsu was a little easier because I know positioning from wrestling.
In my transition, basically striking was the toughest thing. But as I got going more, I realized, well, I do need to work a lot on my jiu-jitsu too. There were some holes there. I got submitted earlier in my career where I could get away with stuff in my fights against, you know, the lower level guys. I could just muscle my way out of stuff, just being a strong wrestler, using no techniques. I realized once you're in a real fight, once you're tired, once your athleticism's gone, you've got to do things technically right. So getting submitted early in my career is probably the best thing that ever happened to me. It made me put the time in jiu-jitsu and start getting better at it. Got that up to par, you know, where I felt it needed to be, and then back to the striking game. It's just one of those things you're always going to need to be working on. And now I feel like I have a pretty well-rounded skill set, so I'm always just working on everything, always trying to get better in every area.
Advice for a young wrestler trying to break into MMA would be to start learning everything now. If I could do anything, I would be doing jiu-jitsu and boxing, even just for fun, but learning the fundamentals so I had a good base coming into it. because I had nothing. All I had was wrestling. Stick to wrestling and go through and take wrestling as far as you can. But I would start doing everything now.
So now I think we're realizing if you can mix some, striking and some submission in there, jiu-jitsu, judo, boxing mixed in with it, but still you can catch all the striking and the submission work late in your wrestling career and be the best in the world. So I'd say stay on that 10-year wrestling path and slap on the other stuff at the end, and your odds are 7 out of 10 you're going to be the best in the world in MMA.
Really make a very conscious effort of the gym you choose or of the trainers you start with. Just because a guy knows more than you doesn't mean he's the best trainer. Remember, when you're coming into mixed martial arts, you're starting all over. Wrestling is wrestling and mixed martial arts is mixed martial arts. Coming in with a wrestling background is great. You've got a lot of the skills and the work ethic and all of that. That's great. But make sure you find, trainers in a gym that fits you, suits you, and guys that are going to look after you and take care of your career.
Take it some nice one. 1, 2, 3, power! Beautiful.
We came from a great facility at Arizona State University, knew how high-level athletes should train, and we just didn't think we were getting at Arizona Combat Sports.
We felt like it could be better. We were all from Division I athletic programs, and we knew what it was like to be there, and we just didn't feel like that's what was going on at the gym we were at, and we wanted to create something special.
We wanted something where you could do it all under one roof. You could do your wrestling, your jiu-jitsu, your boxing, your kickboxing, your strength and conditioning, everything under one roof.
Everything started, coming about, and boom, we found a place, and next thing we know, we're in here putting it together. And we were in here training before there was even boxing rings or anything, and we just gutted the place. There's no AC. We're training in the middle of the summer. So it was a tough transition.
We opened up Power MMA and Fitness 3.5 years ago.
We knew it would be worth it in the end, and we were securing our futures for when we were done fighting, and also having a handle on our own training, making sure we were getting that quality training. We're having the best trainers in the world.
Don't? No, shut it. Oh, okay. You're trying to come here and you start to slip out. Right, I have to establish control. And then, obviously technical. But right now, let's get
We have a group of guys in here from all sorts of different backgrounds, all sorts of different countries. We have guys from Canada, Brazil, Mexico. Everyone bringing their own unique twist to MMA. Everyone has their own unique set of skills. So when I'm getting ready to fight a jiu-jitsu fighter, I've got 6 or 7 black belts in here that are my weight, some of the top guys in the world in MMA and in jiu-jitsu. To be able to have that kind of training partner is great. And we have a great Muay Thai team, we have great strikers, great boxers. So whatever you need, we can figure it out and get the right guys, the right training partners for your fight and whatever is coming up for you. And whatever skill set you need to improve on, with a great trainer, you've just got to put the time in, so it kind of falls on your shoulders because all the personnel is here.
Yeah, so mixed martial arts, they have so many little intricacies in the sport that there's not enough time in the week to get what you need in. You got to be in condition, so you got to have your strength conditioning program. You have your actual just straight conditioning. That's just the physical part of it. Then you have to have your Muay Thai, wrestling, boxing, jiu-jitsu, and you have to tailor that to each individual fighter. So a head coach kind of has to see where you're good at, where you need work, where you can kind of fall back a little bit.
Here, and you're not loading as much here for this big one. That's what happened on that last one.
Yeah.
Right? You have done it perfect already. Just be here. Boom!
You have to tailor make your training camps, and then you have to get better when you don't have a fight. and work on your weaknesses. And so we have an individual coach for each discipline. They're here to get you better. They're here to see you be successful. And so we drill a lot, we spar a lot, we do it all. And so we have to get a lot in. That's what the biggest thing about being a mixed martial arts fighter is just being well-rounded and getting everything in you need to get in. I might get a good foundation under me. Say I want to get my legs a little stronger. You know, I'm in here every day working on my technique and stuff, but strength and conditioning wise, 12 weeks out, I'm going to get a little stronger so I have a good base going in because I know I'm going to be putting in a lot of work in those 8 weeks prior to that fight.
Yeah. That was easy.
It wasn't easy. We've come up with this formula that we know we're going to be in shape and going to be successful, and so we follow that. Got to get a certain number of technical practices in and sparring practice. It's a lot to fit in 1 week, but it's all about training and letting your body recover. That's for 8 weeks. Eating healthy, no drinking, nothing like that. It's your focus on one night, and you have to show up and you have to be your best in that one night. 15 minutes or 25 minutes, that's all you got. On a mental aspect, you're thinking about that one night throughout your whole training camp, that one fighter that you're fighting. It gets a little monotonous and you're always looking kind of in the future a little bit, but there's nothing better than to see all that hard work accumulate into a win. Better yet, like a knockout or submission of that night. There's no better high, no better feeling ever.
To me, being physically prepared helps me be mentally prepared. If I know I've put the work in here and I've been through hell in my training camp, when it's fight time, to me it's fun because I know I'm going out and I have a gas tank that we're gonna fight. It's gonna be exciting, you know, the crowd's gonna love it, I'm gonna love it, I'm gonna get paid. Hopefully, I've collected quite a few bonuses in the UFC. I'm gonna go have fun. All my hard work's done. When I leave from my fight now, it's like the best thing ever, you know? It's like no more training camp.
I love competition. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, whether it's playing a board game or fighting on the highest level. I've done it my whole life. I've competed since I was 6 years old, all the way up to 31 years old right now, and I still have that fire. I still want to win. I still want to do the steps to be successful, coming in here and training and all that. When I don't have that fire to come in and train and prepare for a fight like I need to, I'm done. That's when I'm going to retire and that's it. But I still have that fire. I still want to be the best at what I do. And I happen to be a mixed martial artist, so I want to be a champion. I want to continue to win these fights. You got to set goals that are that are reachable, and then goals way out there. My reachable goal is to win the fight in front of me, and my ultimate goal is to become the champion and continue to be the champion. And so that's what fuels me, and I'm excited to get up every day and come and train. It's just all about the competition. I'm not actually out there because I like to hurt people or anything like that. I want to go out there and I want to be physical. I want to compete just like back in my wrestling days. For me, a wrestling match and a fight are really, there's not much difference except I get to punch people and there are different ways to end a fight per se.
I've always thought of myself as a fighter. I'm not necessarily going out and physically beating someone up, but physically beating somebody, dominating somebody. I mean, I just always had that in me, whether it was in football or running track or wrestling. I've had that fight in me. When I was fighting, when I was training and competing, I absolutely loved it. And I'll never, be done with wanting to compete and that feel and that drive to compete. I think it's always been in me since I was a little kid. And I love the aspect. I love the walkout. That's one thing that I'll miss is the walkout. Heading into the octagon and stepping up and knowing it's just you and another guy and you step in the cage, and that feeling is really hard to duplicate. You can try on other things, but there's just nothing that really gets you going like that. And then obviously having a victory and something like that, getting your hand raised to the end, and all the work that you put into it, and then going out and coming out victorious.
Oh, it's just something I enjoy, really the training aspect of it, coming in and just working, getting better every day, lifting weights, staying healthy. It's just the lifestyle I want to live. I'm an active person. I want to be out and about and doing stuff, and if that's my job, it's not really work to me. It's coming in and doing something I like, something I love. There is no feeling when you go out and fight in front of 20,000 people and get your hand raised. And it's fight of the night on top of it, hearing the fans and the crowd.
You know, my inspiration really becomes from being the best in the world. Of course, I love the outcome, because the outcome validates the process, right? I get this big, giant Olympic gold medal, NCAA title. I'm the MMA champ of the world. That isn't it at the end. That's how I got there, and that's the most fun. It's the grueling work. It's the challenging yourself. It's you put your foot on the line, I put my foot on the line. Let's see what you got, let's see what I got. Let's duke it out and find out who the best is. You know what, you might win today. I'll raise your hand, but I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll do it again.